Good afternoon. We did 8-2 last time we talked, and now, like I said before, we're going to be skipping around. We're skipping 8-3, and we're continuing on with 8-4. So today we're going to be discussing multiplying and dividing rational expressions. Now, first thing, in order to multiply, divide, and simplify, which simplifying is going to be a big part of today, you have to remember how to factor. Okay, so this factoring help guide that I gave you guys a couple chapters ago should be in your notes. Start searching through your notes and find this factoring help guide. Now, we had three different kinds of factoring. We had two-term factoring, three-term factoring, and four-term factoring. Remember, two-term factoring, we had two different kinds. We had difference of squares. And with difference of squares, remember there are both squareds. We split them up. One was positive, one was negative. So if I gave you x squared minus 16, I'd break that up into x times x and 4 times 4. One has to be positive, one has to be negative. 4x squared minus 64. 4x squared is 2x times 2x. 64 is 8 times 8, so it'd be 2x plus 8 and 2x minus 8. Difference in sums of cubes is one that we just barely briefed on, and we're going to have one more example on that today. And those are those formulas. You're always going to get them. You never have to memorize those. Three terms. You had perfect square trinomial and trial and error. Remember, our trial and error was the one you really got to make sure you watch. It has to multiply to the last term and add to the middle term. Four terms was just grouping. That was our only option here. So we grouped the first two terms, see what we can take out, group the second two terms, or terms 3 and terms 4, and see what you can take out, and then combine them. Now, if you haven't yet, again, make sure you find that. This sheet's going to help you for what you're doing in notes and in your homework. Now, step one, we're not multiplying or dividing yet, we're just simplifying. So when I look at this question, I want to simplify it. The first thing I need to do before I can start canceling and simplify is factor out my common factor. Up on the top, I just have 4x to the 5th, but on the bottom, I need to decide what can I take out of these. So what can I take out of 16 and what can I take out of 36? 2, yes, but there's something bigger. I can take out a 4. I have 3 x's and I have 1x. So what's my common factor between 3 x's and 1x? 1x. So I need to take out a 4x. So when I take out a 4x, 16 divided by 4 leaves me with 4. 36 divided by 4 leaves me with 9. And I'm taking out 1x right here from x cubed, so that leaves me with x squared. When I take out my 1x right here, I only had 1x, so it's gone. So that leaves me with 4x squared minus 9. Now, anytime you're doing these questions, you need to factor or simplify as much as possible before you start canceling. So when I get to here, I should notice, hopefully, I have a 4, I have a 9. Those are both perfects with my minus sign in between them. That was my difference of perfect squares. So I need to take this and I need to decide what can I break this up into to factor. 4x squared is my 2x times 2x. 9 is 3 times 3. And remember, since this is a minus sign, that's the whole key to this. I'm going to take this and split them up. One of them is going to be positive. One of them is going to be negative. Now that we're done factoring, we're going to see what we can cancel, what we can simplify. So I notice on the bottom and on the top, I have a 4. Now I say cancel, but make sure you understand we're just simplifying. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So those are gone. I have 1x on the bottom, 5 x's on the top. So if I were to sit here, and I could, but I don't have to, I could sit here and write out my 5 x's. Well, what does that mean? I've got 1 down here. It's going to cancel with how many of these up on top? 1 of them, which leaves me with 4. So this 1 on the bottom cancels with 1 on the top, which means I still have 4 on the top. 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3, there's nothing up here to cancel those with. And notice that they're in parentheses, and that's going to be a key when we get to the harder questions. You can only cancel terms and factors. So I'd have to cancel a 2x minus 3 with another 2x minus 3. So there's nothing to cancel those with. So the only thing we're left with on top is x to the 4th. And on the bottom, we're left with 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. So that is my answer. Now the next two, still simplifying. So in the first one, I need to factor 3 terms. So this is where we had to go through our trial and error. What multiplies to 5? Well, that's just 5 times 1. what adds to negative 4. So what kind of 5 and what kind of 1 are going to add to negative 4? Negative 5 and positive 1. We'll multiply to negative 5 and add to negative 4. Well, same thing on the bottom. 3 terms, trial and error. So I have 15 times 1 or 5 times 3. I need to get a negative 2 and a negative 15. 15 and 1, when I add them, are not going to give me 2. 5 and 3 are going to give me 2. I need a negative 2, so that's going to be a negative 5 and a positive 3. So the top is my x minus 5, x plus 1. My bottom is x minus 5, x plus 3. Now, what we said a second ago, make sure we understand when we start simplifying these, that these are terms. That's why they're in parentheses. So I have to cancel out whole terms. So when I start canceling, what is the same on the top and the bottom? The exact same. I have an x minus 5 on the top and the bottom. So those cancel, leaving me with x plus 1 over x plus 3. Now the next one, I can factor the bottom. 18 times 1, 9 times 2, or 6 times 3. They need to add to 9. 18 and 1 don't add to 9. 9 and 2 don't add to 9. 6 and 3 add to 9. So that's going to factor out to 6 and 3 for me. Now, the second thing we need to notice up here is I only have 2 terms. Okay, but they're not squareds. I have a cubed, and what is 27? Is 27 a cube? 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. So 27 is also a cubed. So looking at that sheet that hopefully you have out now, that factoring help guide sheet, 2 terms, cubes. We have 2 formulas. Only difference between these formulas is one is a plus, one is a minus. What do I have? I have a plus. So I'm looking right here. What am I plugging in for A and B into my formula? X cubed is x times x times x. 27 is 3 times 3 times 3. So every A, I'm going to plug x, because that's where I get my A cubed. And every B, I'm going to plug 3. So this is going to give me x plus 3, x squared minus 3x plus 3 squared. And when I write this down, 3 squared is 9. So that gives me x plus 3, x squared minus 3x plus 9. And that just comes straight from that formula. Cubes always come from the formula. And again, you don't have to memorize the formula, but you got to know how to use it. And then the bottom we did a minute ago. Multiply to 18, add to 9 with 6 and 3. So x plus 6, x plus 3. Now, can I factor? This 9 is 9 times 1 or 3 times 3. Well, either one of those add to 3. 9 and 1 don't. 3 and 3 don't. So since I can't factor this, it stays. So when I'm looking at this, the only thing that I have same on top and bottom is that x plus 3. So my answer is x squared minus 3x plus 9 divided by x plus 6. Now, a little review before we go on to the next couple sections. Adding and subtracting. Okay, I'm just going to brief these real quick because we're going to talk about these later. But adding and subtracting fractions. We need to make sure we recognize when you're adding and subtracting fractions, the denominator has to be the same. Okay, so when you go through those questions, you have to make sure those are the same before you add and subtract them. Like I said, we'll discuss that in greater depth later. Right now, we're doing multiplying and dividing. On multiplying and dividing, do you have to have common denominators? No, only on adding and subtracting. So when I'm multiplying, I don't care that these are not the same. I simply multiply straight across. So 2 times 1 is 2, 6 times 3 is 18, and then just like we've done in the past, always simplify if you can simplify. 2 divided by 18 is 1 over 9. Now, it's the same thing with the second question. You just have to make sure you recognize what 4 is. I'm not multiplying 4 times 2 and 4 times 3. Think about it. Can I take 4 and make it a fraction? If I did, it would be what? 4 is 4 over 1. So I'm not multiplying 4 times 2 and 4 times 3. I'm multiplying 4 times 2 and 3 times 1. So if it helps, turn that 4 into a fraction. 4 over 1 gives you 8 over 3. Now, dividing, something that we've spoke about several times now with fractions and division. I always keep telling you guys, don't divide by fractions. And specifically, we've talked about it with solving. Today, we're not going to solve, but it's the same idea. I keep telling you, don't divide by fractions. What do? Don't divide by fractions, multiply by the reciprocal. So what we're going to do is take these division questions, turn them into multiplication. And what did we say? In order to turn them into multiplication, we have to change this into the reciprocal. So instead of 2/3 divided by 1/6, it's going to be 2/3 times 6 over 1. And then same thing, since this is multiplication, you multiply straight across. 6 times 2 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. 12 over 3 is 4. Same thing here. Division. So I want to change this into multiplication. So I have to have the reciprocal. Well, this isn't a fraction right now. Then make it a fraction. 8 is 8 over 1. So if I want to change this to multiplication, this 8 over 1 has to turn to a 1 over 8. Multiply across. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 8 is 24. 2 over 24 is 1 over 12. Now, we're going to take these two concepts and take them with polynomials now. So now we're going to have x's, but it's the exact same process. So my first example, I need to factor this and cancel this. Do I care that this is multiplication? No, because what do we say about multiplication? You multiply straight across. So I don't care that this is multiplication. I'm not switching where anything is at. So all I need to do is simplify this and factor this and solve. So x squared plus x minus 6. What multiplies to 6, 6 times 1, 3 times 2, and adds to 1. What kind of a 3? What kind of a 2? A positive 1 is a positive 3 and a negative 2. So x plus 3x minus 2. Down here on the bottom, I can't do anything with 2x squared. Over here on the right, 2x plus 8. I can't necessarily factor it, but I can take something out. I can take out a 2, leaving me with x plus 4. Down here on the bottom, I can factor. 12 is 12 times 1, 6 times 2, 4 times 3. How do I get 7? Not 12 and 1, not 6 and 2, but 4 and 3. So we factor. We have x plus 3x minus 2. Take that 2 out, and x plus 3x plus 4. Now, there's nothing else to factor, so again, we're canceling. X plus 3 cancels with x plus 3. Is there anything to cancel the x minus 2 with? Nope. I've got a solo 2. I've got a solo 2. Those are going to cancel. I've got an x plus 4 and another x plus 4. So on top, we're left with x minus 2. On bottom, we're left with x squared. And one of the biggest mistakes I see here is people start to cancel these x's. You cannot do that. Remember, this x minus 2 has parentheses around it, so those go together. You cannot start canceling pieces of it. And if it helps, keep the parentheses around it so you remember that. But this x squared and this x do not cancel. That x is paired with that 2. So you can't cancel anything, so x minus 2 over x squared is your answer. Next one. This is multiplication, so it's just straight across. But again, make sure you recognize there's nothing here as a fraction, so this is just over 1. Okay, so let's factor 16. What's going to multiply to 16 and add to 6? 8 times 2. I need a positive 6, so positive 8 and negative 2. What's going to multiply to 4 and add to 4? 2 times 2 and 2 plus 2. Now, 4 terms. We haven't done a 4 term yet. Remember, 4 terms are grouping. So we group our first 2, we group our second 2, and decide what we can take out. Looking at just these first 2, what can I take out of x cubed and 3x squared? I can take out an x squared. The second one, 4x and 12, what can I take out? A 4, but a little reminder from when we did grouping, since this front term is negative, you want to take out a negative. So we're going to take out a negative 4 from both of those. So up here on the top, we said we have an x plus 8 and an x minus 2. Over here, we have x plus 2, x plus 2. Down here, we're starting our grouping. So I took out an x squared, leaving me with x plus 3. Right here, I took out a negative 4, leaving me with positive x. And negative 12 divided by negative 4 is a positive 3. Now, our second step to grouping, whether or not you remember, is these two terms on the outside are going to be joined together. And the two sets of parentheses, do you remember, if you did grouping correctly, the two sets of parentheses will always match. So these two sets of parentheses are going to become one, and what you took out on the outside is becoming your second set. So that x plus 3 was the parentheses that were the same, and then the x squared minus 4 is that second set of parentheses right here. Now, it does not matter if you take this x plus 2 and make it x plus 2 squared. It's completely up to you, but recognize, what does this squared mean? It means there's two of them. Okay, so I have two x plus 2's up there. Now, before you start canceling, always check to see if there's something else that you can do. I have perfects right here, x squared minus 4. That can break up again. X squared minus 4 is what and what? It is x plus 2 and x minus 2. So I need to make sure I factor as much as possible before I start canceling. Now, x plus 8, there's nothing to cancel that with. X minus 2, I can cancel those. And x plus 2, I can cancel. But remember, what did this mean? There were two of them. I've only got one on the bottom, so that cancels that second one, but there's one still left. There's no x plus 3 to cancel with, so I'm left with x plus 8 and x plus 2 on the top, and x plus 3 on the bottom. Now, the next one, division. What do we say about division when we're dealing with fractions? You always take the division and turn it into multiplication. So I'm going to take the second fraction and do what with it? Flip it and multiply. Multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to take this division. It's now multiplication. We took that second fraction and all we did was flip it. So the top is now the bottom's now the top. And once you do that, this is the exact same question we just did a second ago. So there's nothing to worry about. Okay, so we take it, flip it, it's no longer division, it's now multiplication. So 5x, there's nothing I can do. 3x minus 12, I can simplify with a 3. So it becomes x minus 4. 3 terms, so trial and error. 8 is 8 times 1, or 4 times 2. How do I get my negative 6? A negative 4 and a negative 2. And remember again, negative 4 times negative 2 is that plus 8. Right here, what can I do? I can take out an x, leaving me with x minus 2. So factor everything that you have. Always ask yourself, can I factor any more? There's no squareds, nothing else that I can factor, so now I cancel. I've got an x on the top, an x on the bottom, and again, those are solo x's. They're not paired with anything else. Those are just solo x's. I got an x minus 4 on the top, an x minus 4 on the bottom, and an x minus 2 on the top, x minus 2 on the bottom. So the only thing on the top is 5. Only thing on the bottom is 3. So 5 over 3. Now another division one. Two things to notice here. This is just 2x plus 3, so it's 2x plus 3 over 1. And the thing you need to make sure you recognize is you're only switching the division to multiplication. This one's already multiplication. So I'm not going to touch the first two. You're only switching what's after the division sign. So I'm going to turn this division into multiplication. And the only thing I'm flipping is the part after the division sign. So I'm flipping that 4x squared minus 9 over x minus 2. Now I've got two sets of multiplications, so again, factor and solve. X is x minus 2 I can't touch, 2x plus 3 I can't touch, 1 I can't touch, x minus 2 I can't touch. The only thing I can do is right here. Well, how do I factor this? Two terms, minus sign. A 4 is a perfect, 2 times 2. A 9 is a perfect, 3 times 3. Remember, since they're both perfects, when you break them up, one is a positive, one is a negative. So that's 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. Now what can we cancel? 2x plus 3 with 2x plus 3. X minus 2 with x minus 2. So on top, I have an x. On bottom, I've got a 1 and a 2x minus 3. But does this 1 mean anything? What is 1 times 2x minus 3? It's just 2x minus 3. Now again, this is my answer, and make sure you don't start canceling things because this 2x minus 3, remember, is in parentheses. That's a factor. So those belong together. You can't start canceling those x's. Okay, last one. Multiplication, multiplication. So is there anything I need to flip? Nope. And this is just over 1. So start factoring. What multiplies to 20, 3 terms, what multiplies to 20 and adds to 12? 20 is 20 times 1. That doesn't give me 12. 10 times 2 or 4 times 5. Will 4 times 5 give me 12? Nope. So it's 10 times 2. Well, we just did this. 4x squared minus 9. One's positive, one's negative. That's our 2x plus 3, 2x minus 3. This one I can't necessarily factor, but I can take stuff out. 6 and 9. I can take out a 3. X cubed and x squared. I can take out an x squared, leaving me with what? If I take out 3x squared, what do I have here? I just have 2x minus, take out a 3x squared from a 9x squared, 3. Same thing down here. Can't factor, but I can take something out. 1 and 10, well, I can't do anything. X cubed, x squared, so I can take out an x squared, leaving me with 1x plus 10. So factor all that out. Is there anything else I can factor? Is there anything else I can simplify before I start canceling? Nothing up there. So start canceling. X plus 10 on top, x plus 10 on the bottom. Nothing to pair with the x plus 2. Nothing to pair with a 3. I've got an x squared and an x squared, so those cancel out evenly. They're both just gone. 2x minus 3, 2x minus 3, 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3. So on top, I've got a 3 and an x plus 2. On the bottom, I just have 1. If I divide by 1, is that going to do anything? Nope. So my answer is just 3 times x plus 2. Now, just to make sure we understand the division, we're not going to solve this. I just want to make sure you understand what you would flip. 3 sets of fractions. Which one would I flip? The first one, the second one, or the third one? This is multiplication. So do I flip the third one? No. You only flip after the division. So the only fraction you'd be flipping is this middle one. I hope you enjoyed the notes today. I know they were a little bit longer, but we got some factoring in here, which we know we got to make sure we take our time on. So here's your homework. 1 through 19 odds on B, 6, 9, 14, and 15 on C. Enjoy your homework. Tomorrow we're going to do 8.5.